But we've got to resolve all those issues. We have to start having a conversation about climate change. Keith Rothfus doesn't believe it exists.
I am not convinced that it's a fact.
He's a climate denier. At this point, come on, really?
Yeah, it's pretty hot out there.
but you know what I'm saying? And my bigger concern is, okay, if you don't want to talk about climate, can we at least talk about things like particle emissions? Because I have asthma, you had asthma as a kid. I remember you when you were a baby. And I've always said there's just nothing more terrifying as a parent than watching your child gasp for air. And I remember you being an infant and just not able to breathe. And we would have to do this thing where we would take you into like a bathroom with a hot shower going to open up your lungs, and then we would take you outside into the cold. And like at 2 and 3 in the morning we were doing this, and you know, you're watching this little baby just and it was so terrifying for me. And as somebody that had asthma most of my life, it's interesting to me that we don't want to have a conversation about particle emissions, chemicals in our air, chemicals in our food. You know, you're seeing autism rates are going through the roof, mental health issues with young people. And if you understand how toxins in the body affect absorption of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, which they do, which then in turn affect our body's ability to make neurotransmitters and other chemicals that make our body, and other biochemicals that make our body function properly. And you look at the role that putting junk in our body does. And I've obviously worked a lot with addicts, so I mean, these are people that are putting large quantities of junk in their body, so I get to see the real extreme form of that. When you see that, and you see what it does, and you realize that every American, or every person on this planet is experiencing this because we're just doing all of the stuff that our bodies can't handle, it makes a change. And I don't understand why, okay, you don't want to argue the climate stuff because it's not politically expedient, fine. Can we at least talk about the health implications, the rise in cancer rates? I mean, you know, by the time I was 35, I had way too many friends my own age that had already been diagnosed with cancer. So, you know, these are real conversations that we should have about making this country safer, making it healthier. And this is a conversation that my congressman doesn't want to have.
Yeah.
I do not believe it's man-made, and I am not convinced that it's a fact. I think the science is still out. I think for the last 15 years we haven't had any warming. I think you go back, we had a medieval warm period where we were growing crops in Greenland. We could do that maybe if we kept warming up over the next 20 to 30 years. I do think the jury's out on that. I'm very dubious as to whether or not this is what they call anthropogenic, man-made. When you're talking about 280 parts per billion, I think, of carbon, these are in very small amounts. I'm very concerned that the EPA is treating carbon dioxide as a pollutant. I think that we need to have some robust legislation coming out of Congress reining the EPA in.